chosen one. You feel it. The moment you pause long enough to breathe, something holy is moving toward you. Something heaven-sent. Something that has been stirring beneath the surface of your life long before you recognize the signs. You are not here accidentally. You are not hearing these words because of an algorithm or coincidence. No, everything around you stills because heaven is trying to get your attention. A shift begins the moment you allow silence to settle. A divine stirring rises in you, subtle yet unmistakable, as if your spirit is leaning forward to catch a whisper from realms unseen. You are God's chosen one. And right now, your atmosphere is changing. You sense it in the way your heart beats a little faster, in the way your soul suddenly feels awake, aware, alert. You feel watched, but not by people, watched by heaven, overshadowed by purpose, touched by something that is not of this world. And deep down, you know it. Something holy is about to begin in your life. You have walked through storms that tried to drown you, nights that seemed to stretch endlessly, moments where even hope felt like a distant memory. Yet here you stand, and the fact that you are still here, still standing, still breathing, still pushing through, tells me that heaven has never taken its eyes off you. You are not like the rest. You carry a sensitivity, a depth, a calling that refuses to disappear even when you try to run from it. You feel more. You see more. You endure more. You awaken differently. And today, heaven leans close to say, listen carefully, because when God begins something holy in the life of a chosen one, the atmosphere shifts before the miracle appears. The shaking begins before the blessing breaks. The stirring comes before the assignment unfolds. And that is exactly where you are standing right now, on the edge of divine beginning. You feel the weight of past battles trying to pull you back. But something stronger is pulling you forward. You feel the whispers of doubt trying to distract you. Yet, your spirit keeps rising. You feel the familiar pull of old wounds, old fears, old patterns, but you also feel heaven breaking them off you, one thread at a time. Something in you knows. You are stepping into a chapter that does not look like anything you have lived before. And as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 7, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will open. Let these ancient words echo in you now, because the knocking you feel in your spirit is not your imagination, it's divine invitation. Your life is shifting. Doors you thought were sealed shut are beginning to loosen. The heaviness that sat on your chest for years is starting to crack. The silence that once felt empty is now filled with guidance. You, chosen one, are awakening to the holy stirring that has always been written into your story. You have been misunderstood by many because you were never called to be understood by the masses. You were called, marked, shaped, and refined for a divine mission others were never meant to carry. That's why your journey has been heavier. That's why your heart feels deeper. That's why you often feel like you're standing between worlds, because you are transitioning out of what was and into what God is preparing. And now, as heaven begins this holy work in you, I need you to stay awake. Don't rush past this moment. Don't scroll away. Don't ignore the stirring inside you. You are standing in the beginning of something sacred. And one day you will look back and recognize that this moment, this exact moment, was the turning point. Before we move further into the divine unfolding that awaits you, pause with me. Breathe in. Feel the shift. Let your spirit lean forward. Let your heart soften. Let your awareness open. If these words speak to your spirit, if something in you is awakening, then I invite you right here, right now, to like, share, and comment to anchor this moment in faith. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next steps heaven is guiding you into. At the very end of this section, as your prophetic act, comment the number 777 to mark your alignment with what heaven is beginning in you. You begin to realize, chosen one, that the difference you carry is not a flaw, not a burden, not a strange ache that separates you from the world. It is a mark, a signature, a divine imprint placed upon you long before you even learned to speak your first word. You have walked through your life sensing that something about you was not like everyone else. You felt things more deeply, saw things others ignored, heard what others dismissed, and for years, you may have interpreted that sensitivity as weakness. But now, heaven is revealing the truth. You are marked by light. This mark is why certain rooms felt too small for you. It is why certain people were uncomfortable around you without ever knowing why. Your presence unsettled their shadows. Your spirit disrupted their hidden motives. Even when you had no idea what you carried, darkness recognized you. It has always known who you are. And that is why the warfare around you has been so intense. Not because you are weak, but because you are chosen. Not because you carried less, but because you carried more. There were seasons where you questioned yourself, wondering why your path was so difficult, why relationships cracked unexpectedly, why people you trusted drifted away or turned against you. You thought you were cursed, abandoned, or forgotten. But now you begin to understand. Your isolation was not punishment. It was preservation. Heaven has been guarding the mark on your life. You have always been set apart. Even when you tried desperately to blend in, you tried to walk like them, speak like them, dream like them. But the light in you refused to shrink. The calling on you refused to die. The vision buried within you refused to stay silent. You were created to stand out, not to fit in. You were crafted to illuminate, not to disappear. And this realization begins to settle into your spirit with a strength that surprises even you. There is a glow in you that no betrayal could extinguish, no failure could erase, no heartbreak could crush. With every setback, it became brighter. With every disappointment, it became sharper. The more life tried to break you, the more heaven revealed what was unbreakable within you. And now that light moves through your life like a quiet fire, steady, unstoppable, undeniable. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born. I set you apart. Let that truth settle deeply into your bones. It is not poetry, it is identity. It is the explanation behind every strange, heavy, beautiful moment of your life. You were known. You were chosen. You were set apart. And because you were set apart, people have misunderstood you. They sensed your difference but did not comprehend its origin. They reacted to your light without realizing why it bothered them. You walked into rooms and spiritual atmospheres shifted. You spoke, and things rearranged themselves. You prayed, and mountains trembled. Even when you felt small, you carried a power that the unseen realm recognized instantly. This mark also explains why you outgrew certain environments. You tried to stay in places your soul had already left. You tried to maintain friendships that could not hold the weight of who you were becoming. You tried to remain in cycles God was calling you out of, and no matter how hard you tried to stay small, heaven kept stretching you, pulling you, elevating you. Your mark has always been your evidence. Evidence that you were never meant to walk the common path. Evidence that your destiny could not be contained. Evidence that you are being shaped for something extraordinary. And now the light within you begins to intensify. You feel it stirring beneath your ribs, awakening clarity, resurrecting courage, reviving dreams you thought were long dead. You begin to understand that everything you survived was not random, it was strategic. Every wound became a window. Every scar became a story. Every tear watered the soil of your calling. You are marked, and the mark is glowing. This is why people are drawn to you without knowing why. This is why strangers feel safe telling you their pain. This is why others come to you for comfort, insight, wisdom. They sense the light before you even speak. And yet, this same light is also why the wrong people flee from you. It exposes motives. It reveals intentions. It burns through masks. You do not even try. You simply exist. And darkness trembles. As this truth anchors itself within you, you begin to walk differently, not arrogantly, but awake. You begin to see yourself through the eyes of heaven. You begin to embrace the light instead of hiding it. You begin to understand that the mark on your life is not something you earn, but something you carry. And now, chosen one, as you step deeper into this revelation of who you are, the journey continues. You begin to discern, chosen one, that the tension surrounding your life has never been ordinary. You feel the pressure not just in circumstances, but in the spiritual atmosphere around you. It's as if something pushes against you every time you get closer to breakthrough. Every time you rise, something tries to pull you back. Every time clarity appears, confusion attempts to cloud your path. This is not coincidence, it is warfare. You are not imagining the heaviness that tries to settle on you at random moments. You are not imagining the sudden waves of discouragement or fatigue that appear with no earthly explanation. The battle intensifies because your calling is activating, and when a chosen one begins to awaken, hell begins to tremble. The unseen realm around you is shifting. You can feel the pushback because something in your spirit has started to rise with authority. You are no longer asleep. You no longer carry the blindness you once carried. You no longer move in the naivety you used to walk in. Awareness is awakening in you, and darkness recognizes that awareness before you even fully understand it yourself. There were times you thought the resistance meant you were failing. You thought the pressure meant you were moving in the wrong direction. But now you are beginning to understand that the pressure was confirmation. The very fact that you felt targeted was proof that you were carrying something powerful, something heaven-ordained, something that threatens the plans set against your destiny. You begin to realize that every sudden storm, every unexpected setback, every moment you felt surrounded on all sides was not meant to destroy you, but to reveal the truth that heaven has been fighting for you. The resistance exposed your value. The warfare exposed your anointing, and the pressure exposed your hidden strength. Now you see that if the attacks had been random, they would have stopped long ago. But they didn't, because they were never random. They were strategic. They were targeted. They were sent to stop a destiny they could sense, but you had not yet discovered. And that discovery changes everything. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? Let these ancient words strengthen your spine. They were written for warriors, those who walk through fire with divine backing. Many times, you didn't realize what was happening because the battle was invisible. You thought it was emotional instability. You thought it was exhaustion. You thought it was self-doubt. But really, it was spiritual interference. You were being opposed because you were approaching spiritual elevation. The pressure increased because your assignment was drawing near. There were moments where you felt like giving up, not because you lacked strength, but because the fight was never just physical. It was spiritual. And the enemy does not waste resources attacking the empty. He only fights what threatens him. And you, chosen one, you threaten darkness simply by existing, by breathing, by rising, by refusing to stay down. You wonder why you experience sudden storms right before miracles. You wonder why people turn against you right before major shifts. You wonder why chaos erupts right when things finally begin to move forward. But everything you see in the natural is a shadow of what is happening in the unseen. You are stepping into a new realm of awareness, and with that awareness comes clarity. The battle around you intensifies because your victory is closer than it has ever been. And this time, instead of collapsing under pressure, you feel something different within you. A steadiness, a holy defiance, a spiritual backbone rising. What once overwhelmed you now awakens you. What once broke you now builds you. What once intimidated you now reveals your strength. You are recognizing the signs earlier. You are discerning motives faster. You are sensing danger sooner. You are stepping into battles with wisdom instead of fear. And that shift, this awakening, is part of your elevation. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It's promotion in disguise. And now, chosen one, as you stand in the middle of this spiritual battlefield with new clarity, I want you to anchor this moment with a prophetic act, not for me, but for your own spirit. Comment the words, "I stand firm." This is more than a sentence. It is a declaration that you refuse to bow to fear, a declaration that you will not retreat, a declaration that you recognize the battle and choose to rise anyway. When you type it, you are marking this moment spiritually. You are declaring to heaven and reminding darkness that you know exactly who you are and you are not backing down. And now, with this awareness awakened in you, the journey continues forward. You begin to uncover something sacred hidden beneath the layers of your journey. Strength you did not know you possessed. Power forged, not in comfort, but in fire. Resilience shaped quietly in the shadows, where no one applauded, no one noticed, and no one understood the battles you carried alone. Chosen one. This is the moment you finally see what heaven has been building within you all along. There were nights when you thought you were breaking, but, in truth, you were becoming unbreakable. There were seasons where you felt stripped of everything familiar, yet heaven was stripping away only what could not accompany you into your destiny. Every moment of pain was transformation in disguise. Every moment of confusion was preparation. Every disappointment was redirection. You were being strengthened without even realizing it. You spent years believing you were weak because you felt deeply, but sensitivity is not weakness. It is spiritual awareness. It is the mark of those called to higher ground. Those who feel deeply are the ones who see clearly. Those who see clearly are the ones who fight effectively. And those who fight effectively are the ones who rise powerfully. It is here, in this season of awakening, that you begin to understand what your pain has accomplished. You thought the battles were breaking you. Instead, they were building spiritual muscle in places you didn't know existed. You thought the silence meant abandonment. Instead, it was God pulling you away from the noise so you could hear Him more clearly. You thought the loneliness was punishment. Instead, it was the forge where your calling was purified. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And these words are not comfort, they are revelation. They are the blueprint of your journey. God did not leave you in the moments you felt weakest. He was strengthening you in ways you couldn't yet perceive. That inner strength becomes visible now. You begin to notice how quickly you recover from emotional hits that once shattered you. You notice how peaceful you feel in situations that used to trigger anxiety. You notice how your discernment sharpens, how your intuition heightens, how your courage begins to rise, even when uncertainty surrounds you. This strength was not built in easy seasons, it was carved out of storms. It was created when you had to stand without support. It was formed when you wiped your own tears and kept moving. Every hidden battle, every silent cry, every moment you felt unseen, those were the exact places your inner strength was being formed. People around you may never understand what it took for you to become who you are now. They see the surface, not the suffering. They see the glow, not the grinding. They see your wisdom, not the wounds that taught it to you. They see your confidence, not the countless nights you questioned everything. But you know, and heaven knows, the strength within you is no accident. It is evidence of divine hands shaping you. There is a holy maturity rising within you now. You are no longer easily swayed, easily shaken, or easily broken. Where you once reacted, you now respond. Where you once feared, you now discern. Where you once doubted, you now stand firm. This is what strength forged in fire looks like: quiet, steady, unwavering. Your endurance is not normal. Your capacity is not normal. Your ability to stand after everything you've survived is not normal. It is supernatural strength dressed in human skin. It is evidence that God's hand has been upon your life long before you recognized it. And now that you see your hidden strength clearly, you begin to walk with a different posture, not prideful, purposeful, not loud anchored, not hardened, refined. You move with the quiet confidence of someone who has faced darkness and refused to bow. Someone who has walked through storms, yet kept their fire burning. Someone who has fallen, but risen stronger every single time. This strength is not temporary. It is permanent. It is the foundation for what heaven is preparing to unfold next in your life. What once discouraged you now motivates you. What once frightened you now fuels you. What once overwhelmed you now bows before the authority rising in your spirit. And as you step deeper into this truth, you recognize that the journey ahead requires exactly what has been developed within you. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Everything prepared you. The hidden strength revealed in this season is the key that unlocks the next chapter of your divine story. There comes a moment, chosen one, when heaven leans so close that you feel its breath on your spirit. A moment when the weight around you shifts, not because life becomes easier, but because God begins rearranging your steps with divine precision. And now, you feel this moment unfolding, not in thunder, not in earthquakes, but in the quiet tug inside your chest. Heaven has paused. For you, you have been walking as if alone, but in truth, you have been walking beneath the gaze of the one who sees everything: your tears, your resilience, your unspoken prayers. And now, heaven begins to reposition you. Like a master painter adjusting the canvas before the final stroke, you are being moved into alignment, placed where your light can be seen, where your purpose can flourish, where your unique anointing can finally breathe. You begin to feel it in small ways. Opportunities that once seemed distant now come closer. Conversations carry deeper meaning. Encounters feel intentional instead of accidental. Even the silence feels different, less empty, more expectant, as if heaven is saying, "Stay still, you're being prepared." Listen, the ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 31 declare, "If God is for us, who can be against us? You have always felt the invisible hand guiding you. Even when you resisted it, you sensed the shift long before you understood it. God has been clearing your path the way a shepherd clears thorns before leading his flock forward. You didn't recognize the protection because it felt like loss. You didn't recognize the redirection because it felt like rejection. But now the pieces begin to align. This repositioning is delicate, like a potter shaping clay. It requires patience, surrender, trust. You are being molded not into something weaker, but into something unshakable. Heaven rearranges your surroundings the way a gardener clears dead branches to make room for new bloom. The pruning hurts, but it is holy. The shifting confuses you, but it is purposeful. The waiting frustrates you, but it is divine timing at work. And through all of this, you start noticing signs that once seemed insignificant. A sudden peace in your chest, a sense of clarity when you wake, a strange comfort during moments where you once felt overwhelmed. These are not coincidences, they are heaven's fingerprints. You are being positioned like a lighthouse, moved from rocky edges to a higher cliff, where its beam can cut through the darkest waters. You are being placed like a key shaped perfectly for the door heaven is opening next. You are being set like a jewel, lifted from hidden soil into the light where its brilliance is finally seen. And in this holy repositioning, chosen one, I speak to you with sincerity and gratitude. If these words reach your spirit, if they lift you, guide you, or help you breathe deeper, then allow your heart to respond. Your simple actions, liking, sharing, subscribing, are not for numbers. They are ripples that send this message to others, walking through storms you once survived. You become the vessel heaven uses to reach them. And if you feel led, if your heart nudges gently, even the act of donating becomes sacred, a seed that strengthens the work that feeds your spirit. Not out of pressure, never out of guilt, but the same way one traveler hands bread to another, ensuring no one walks this path hungry. It is participation in the mission, not obligation. Your support, small or great, is light poured back into the flame that lights your path. But hear this clearly. Your value here has never depended on what you give, but on who you are. And who you are is a chosen one whom heaven has paused to reposition. This season feels like standing on a threshold with the door slowly opening. You sense the shift, but cannot yet see the full picture. You feel the movement, but don't know the destination. You hear the whisper, but not the full instruction. And that is exactly where God wants you: alert, awake, receptive. He is preparing you for a moment where your name will be spoken in rooms you have not entered, where your presence will influence spaces you once thought were unreachable. He is elevating your spirit the way an eagle rises above storms, not by escaping the wind, but by mastering it. You have been carried through battles that should have broken you. You have survived nights that should have silenced you. You have walked through valleys that were designed to bury you. And yet, here you are standing, breathing, awakening, and heaven pauses for you. Because you are next. Because you are called. Because something holy is unfolding in your life that no force of darkness can prevent. Let this truth settle. You are being positioned not by accident, but by divine intention. You arrive at a crossroads. Chosen one, not the kind built from pavement and street signs, but the kind carved inside the soul. This is the moment where destiny leans in, where heaven watches closely, where one decision carries the weight of an entire future. You feel it. Something in your spirit knows that the choices you make now will echo far beyond this season. It is not fear you feel, it is awareness. A holy awareness that you are standing in a place where obedience matters more than comfort, where clarity matters more than convenience, and where truth matters more than the opinions of those around you. You have felt this crossroads approaching for a long time. The tension, the restlessness, the spiritual pulling in two directions. These were all signs that heaven was guiding you toward a sacred decision point. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." These words were written for moments exactly like this, moments when the path ahead feels both illuminated and uncertain. This crossroads is not punishment. It is invitation. Heaven places choices before the chosen, not to test them cruelly, but to elevate them intentionally. You are not being asked to choose because God is unsure of you. You are being asked to choose so you discover what heaven has already seen in you. You stand between what was and what will be. One path leads back to familiarity, comfortable, predictable, but small. The other path leads into the unknown, bigger, deeper, filled with promise, but requiring faith. And subtly, quietly, heaven nudges your spirit toward the latter. You begin to feel the truth rising inside you. The life you were created for cannot be built on old fear. Your calling cannot be fulfilled if you cling to what is safe. Your anointing cannot grow in the soil of hesitation. This is the moment where your spirit must step forward, even if your mind trembles. The crossroads reveals who you are becoming. It shows you the patterns you must leave behind: old habits, old lies, old limitations that once kept you small. It shows you the people you may need to release: those who love your past but fear your future, those who prefer your silence more than your rise. It shows you the version of yourself you must outgrow: the doubting one, the shrinking one, the one who questioned the voice of heaven more than the noise of the world. You know which direction is calling you. You've known for a while. Every sign, Every stirring, every moment of conviction has pointed you toward the path of surrender, elevation, and obedience. But choosing that path requires something deep courage, born from trust. And this is where heaven's gentle hand rests upon your heart. God does not push you. He invites you. He does not force you. He guides you. He does not overwhelm you. He awakens you. As you stand in this holy moment, clarity begins to form like light breaking through dense fog. You start to see that the crossroads is not meant to confuse you, it is meant to reveal you. Reveal your strength. Reveal your growth. Reveal the new version of you emerging from everything you've survived. And slowly, you begin to realize why the warfare increased in the previous seasons. The enemy fights hardest when a chosen one approaches a decision that will unlock their next assignment. Your hesitation was attacked because your obedience threatens darkness. But now, the fog lifts. The hesitation weakens. The old fears no longer hold the authority they once did. You feel your spirit leaning forward, almost as if heaven is gently pulling you toward the path designed for your destiny. And in this sacred clarity, I ask you to mark this moment not for me, but for your own awakening. Comment the number 4,444, because 4 is the number of foundation, the number of divine establishment, the number of God setting things in order. When you type it, you are declaring, I choose the path heaven is calling me to. I choose alignment over fear. I choose obedience over comfort. Let the act be simple but significant. You stand at the crossroads, not as someone lost, but as someone chosen, and the path ahead, the one that feels bigger than you, was shaped for you long before this moment arrived. The decision is rising in your spirit. The turning point is unfolding. Your next chapter waits on the other side of one holy choice. You feel it first as a quiet recognition, a subtle awareness that some things in your life can no longer stay attached to you. Not because you stopped caring, not because you became distant, but because your spirit has outgrown what once felt familiar. Chosen one. This is the season where old chains begin to fall, not with noise and drama, but with the gentle click of freedom unlocking itself from your soul. These chains were not always obvious. Some were disguised as habits, others as comfort, others as people you thought would walk with you forever. Some chains looked like fear, others like routine, others like wounds you learned to function with because healing seemed too far away. You carried them for so long that their weight became normal. You forgot what it felt like to breathe without heaviness pressing against your ribs. But heaven has begun the work of breaking what no longer belongs to your future. You begin to notice the disconnect. Things that once satisfied now feel empty. Conversations that once held meaning now feel shallow. Patterns that once brought stability now drain your spirit. It's not that life suddenly changed, it's that you did. Elevation always demands shedding. The way an eagle must release old feathers before it can soar higher. Shedding is not loss, it is preparation. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And in this stillness, you start recognizing the battles you no longer have to fight. Some chains were broken, not by your strength, but by heaven's intervention. Some doors closed, not to punish you, but to protect you. Some people walked away because their departure was the only way your soul could breathe again. You don't break chains by force, you break them by revelation. One revelation at a time. Heaven shows you what was never meant to follow you into the next stage. You see clearly now, the version of yourself that clung to these chains was surviving, not living. That version carried guilt that wasn't yours, expectations that weren't divine, and attachments that drained more than they poured. You outgrew cages built by fear. You outgrew identities shaped by past wounds. You outgrew narratives spoken by voices that never understood your calling. And now your spirit begins to rise above all of it. For the first time, you feel the difference between attachment and alignment. Attachment drains. Alignment strengthens. Attachment restricts. Alignment liberates. Attachement bind. Alignement élevate. And this season is the holy transition from what held you down to what will carry you forward. Some chains are emotional, old heartbreaks, memories that still sting, wounds you kept tucked away in the corners of your spirit. Heaven is loosening those chains through understanding, through perspective, through quiet healing. You find yourself forgiving where you never could before. You find yourself releasing bitterness that once felt justified. You find yourself healing from things you thought would scar you forever. Some chains are mental beliefs that whispered lies about your worth, doubts that made you question your calling, thoughts that kept you small. Now, revelation exposes them for what they are. You begin to speak differently, think differently, respond differently. Heaven rewires your mind the way a musician retunes an instrument softly, precisely, purposefully. Some chains are relational connections that once brought comfort but now hinder growth. You begin to see the truth. Not everyone attached to you is aligned with your destiny. Some people were meant to be chapters, not entire books. Letting them go isn't betrayal, it's obedience to the future God is pulling you into. And some chains are spiritual, the invisible weights, the recurring patterns, the generational battles you never asked for but inherited. These are the chains heaven breaks with fire. You feel the freedom rising in you, subtle yet undeniable. You sense old shadows losing their grip. Your spirit no longer bows to what once intimidated you. Breaking chains is messy. It requires honesty with yourself, courage to face what you once avoided, and surrender to what heaven is building. But in this breaking, something beautiful emerges. You begin to recognize who you truly are, outside the things that tried to define you. Freedom is not loud. It is quiet, deep, steady. It is the peace you feel when you wake. It is the clarity that sharpens your decisions. It is the confidence that rises without explanation. It is the knowing that you are no longer the version of yourself that once settled for less. Chains break when your spirit chooses truth over fear, purpose over comfort, alignment over familiarity. And now, chosen one, as you walk forward, you realize you are not losing pieces of yourself, you are reclaiming them. Every chain that falls reveals a part of you, heaven always intended to shine. You begin to notice it in ways that catch you by surprise, a shift in the atmosphere when you walk into a room, an unexplained tension when certain people stand near you, an invisible reaction to your presence that you cannot fully explain, but absolutely feel. Chosen one, this is the season where you finally recognize the truth. Your light terrifies what hides in the shadows. It's not your actions that disturb darkness, it's your existence. It's the oil you carry, the calling stitched into your spirit, the purity of your intentions, And the authority rising inside you, darkness recognizes a threat long before the chosen one recognizes their own strength. That is why you've felt resistance from places that should have been safe. That is why certain people reacted to you in ways that made no sense. That is why your growth made some uncomfortable, not because you did anything wrong, but because your elevation exposes what others work tirelessly to conceal. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "Though it delay, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not be late." 1. This is more than prophecy, it is explanation. Because the tension around you is not a sign of failure, but of fulfillment nearing completion. You have walked through seasons where you felt misunderstood, judged, or pushed away. You wondered why people distanced themselves when all you offered was loyalty and sincerity. But now, the revelation arrives. Your presence was never neutral. You were light entering environments where some preferred darkness. You were truth walking into spaces built on deception. You were authenticity standing among those who wore masks their whole lives. Darkness does not fear noise, it fears illumination. And you, chosen one, illuminate without even trying. Think back to the times when you responded gently and people reacted as if you had exposed their intentions. Moments where you asked honest questions and suddenly found yourself resented. Instances where your silence spoke louder than words. This is because your spirit shines in ways your mouth never had to. Light reveals. Light unsettles. Light confronts without confrontation. You carry a presence that forces hidden motives to surface. People who walk with pure intentions feel safe around you because your light resonates with theirs. But those who carry secrecy, manipulation, jealousy, or control feel exposed without you saying a single word. You've been wondering why certain individuals tried to dim you, belittle you, or make you doubt yourself. The truth is simple. Your spirit disrupted their shadow. Your authenticity made them uncomfortable. Your growth reminded them of the stagnancy they refused to confront. Your favor stirred insecurities they kept buried. And now, as you rise even higher, this disruption becomes more visible, not because you are provoking darkness, but because your light is expanding. You are stepping deeper into purpose, and purpose amplifies light. You are stepping into identity, and identity radiates truth. You are stepping into spiritual awareness, and awareness clarifies what has always been happening around you. Some of the resistance you experienced was not personal, it was spiritual. Your presence confronted atmospheres long before you understood your authority. Certain individuals reacted not to you, but to the anointing upon you. Your kindness disarmed spirits. Your compassion choked the roots of bitterness. Your clarity destabilized confusion. Your peace disrupted chaos. You are a walking contradiction to darkness, a reminder of what it cannot control. And now, heaven begins revealing what has been happening behind the scenes. That heaviness you felt when entering certain rooms, that was your spirit, recognizing what your eyes could not see. That sudden urge to withdraw from particular people, that was heaven pulling you away from hidden intentions. That tension that surrounded you with no clear reason, that was spiritual conflict responding to your presence. Darkness trembles because your awakening has begun. You are no longer blind to the spiritual realm. You no longer dismiss your discernment. You no longer shrink yourself to maintain peace. You no longer silence your intuition to protect fragile egos. The veil has lifted, and with it, your authority rises. Your light is not gentle anymore. It's sharpened by wisdom, clarified by experience, empowered by survival, purified by fire. It is not a candle flame flickering in the wind. It is a torch carried by someone who has walked through storms and refused to be extinguished. This is why God is isolating you in certain areas, not as punishment, but as preservation. Light cannot remain where darkness demands dominance. You are being placed in environments designed to support your glow, not compete with it. You are being guided toward people who celebrate your brightness, not resent it. You are being aligned with voices that strengthen your spirit, not silence it. And now, as your light intensifies, something remarkable begins to happen. Darkness no longer terrifies you, you terrify it. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when something ancient, something sacred, something long dormant begins to awaken from within. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It rises quietly like a crown, slowly lifting itself from the dust, reminding you of who you were always meant to become. And now, chosen one, that moment has arrived for you. You feel it before you understand it. A pull upward, a stirring of authority, a new weight resting on your spirit, not as a burden, but as a mantle. You begin to stand differently, not straighter. Boot, deeper, not taller, but truer. There is a shift in the way you see yourself, a clarity forming around your identity, a realization that the version of you that once bowed to fear no longer exists. Your crown, your spiritual authority, your divine inheritance, your God-given identity begins to awaken. For years, you may have lived beneath your calling. You were chosen, but didn't feel chosen. You were anointed, but didn't feel worthy. You carried spiritual sensitivity, but doubted your discernment. You saw visions of a higher life, but your wounds whispered you were unqualified. So you shrank, you hid, you dimmed your brilliance to survive environments not built for your elevation. But heaven never forgot the crown placed on your life. It waited for your awakening. It waited for you to heal, to grow, to see, to rise. And now, the awakening begins, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the first book of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession belonging to Him. These ancient words do not describe someone far away. They describe you, royal, set apart, marked, crowned. You feel the truth of this verse moving through you like fire. You feel the shift in your spirit as heaven begins lifting your head, not in pride, but in remembrance. You were born carrying royalty in your DNA, not earthly royalty, but spiritual authority that disrupts darkness simply by existing. Your crown awakens when you begin to recognize. You no longer walk as the wounded, you walk as the healed. You no longer speak as the fearful, you speak as the called. You no longer move as the uncertain, you move as the chosen. And with this awakening comes a new level of spiritual perception. You start recognizing opportunities disguised as challenges. You start sensing God's whispers in moments that once felt silent. You start discerning who is for you and who was merely comfortable with your past. You notice that the voices trying to discourage you somehow sound quieter, weaker, unable to reach you in the places you are rising to. Because your crown shifts your posture. With every internal awakening, you reclaim pieces of your identity that life tried to take from you. You reclaim confidence. You reclaim authority. You reclaim vision. You reclaim fire. You reclaim the parts of you that were silenced by trauma, manipulated by others, or buried by seasons of survival. A crowned spirit cannot stay small, and as your crown awakens, heaven begins aligning circumstances around you. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because your perception changes. Your spirit stands taller. Your discernment sharpens. Your choices become intentional. You move from reaction to strategy, from fear to authority, from confusion to clarity. Even your prayers change. They become steadier, sharper, more powerful. Not because you speak louder, but because you finally understand the weight of the one speaking. And now, right here, in this sacred moment where your spiritual crown rises into full awareness, I want you to anchor this awakening with a prophetic act. Comment the words, "I rise now." Just 3 words, yet they carry spiritual fire. When you type them, you declare to heaven that you accept your identity. You declare to darkness that you will no longer hide. You declare to your old self that the shrinking ends today. These words mark a turning point, a spiritual coronación, a declaration that the version of you walking forward from this moment is crowned, awakened, aligned, and unshakable. Because your crown is not symbolic, it is spiritual truth. The authority rising in you is earned through suffering, purified through storms, strengthened through battles, and confirmed through survival. The enemy tried to break you because it feared what your crown would activate in the world. It feared your awakening. It feared your clarity. It feared your voice. But here you stand crowned, awakened, rising. You are not stepping into royalty. You are remembering it. Your crown has been waiting for you. And now finally, you lift your head and wear it. You walk forward, chosen one. But suddenly the path beneath your feet begins to shift. The air thickens. The light dims. The temperature of your spirit drops. And you realize you are entering the fire. Not the fire meant to destroy you, but the fire meant to refine you. This is the season where God allows flame, not as punishment, but as purification. You have been through discomfort before, but this feels different. This fire is not external inconvenience. It is internal transformation. It reaches the places you tried to hide, the wounds you buried, the fears you masked, the patterns you learned to live with. Heaven is not exposing you to break you. He is exposing what can no longer follow you into your next chapter. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, "In this world you will face trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world." These words settle into your soul like water on thirsty ground. The fire may surround you, but victory stands before you. When gold is refined, it is placed into flame hot enough to melt away everything that is not pure. When a sword is forged, it is struck, heated, bent, and reshaped until it can withstand battle. When a diamond is formed, it is pressed under unimaginable pressure until brilliance emerges. And when God elevates a chosen one, he sends them through fire not to burn them, but to reveal them. That is where you are now, inside the holy fire, where impurities fall away and identity emerges. The attacks you faced recently were not random, they were heat rising. The emotional heaviness you felt was pressure turning you into something unbreakable. The confusion, the delays, the spiritual pushback, they were all signs that you were inside the refining process. Heaven has been reshaping you silently. The way a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal a masterpiece hidden beneath the surface. You didn't realize it, but every tear watered your transformation. Every setback sharpened your discernment. Every disappointment strengthened your core. Fire does not apologize for burning, but neither does God apologize for refining. And yet, in the midst of this fire, something miraculous happens. You do not burn. You shine. You begin to see parts of yourself you never noticed before. Courage where there used to be fear. Clarity where there once was confusion. Peace in places that once held chaos. You start understanding that the fire is not your enemy. It is the turning point of your destiny. You feel God's hand on your back, not pushing you into flames, but walking through them with you, just like the fourth figure in Nebuchadnezzar's furnace. You realize you have never been alone. The heat rises. Yes, but so does your spirit. So does your strength. So does your authority. And, chosen one, when you come out of this fire, and you will come out, you will not look like what you survived. You will carry no soot, no scorch marks, no evidence of destruction. Only brilliance, only sharpness, only purity. Because God does not allow fire to touch what He has claimed, He only allows it to transform. And as you navigate this holy refinement, I want to speak gently, sincerely, authentically to the part of you that feels weary. If these words reach your spirit, if they steady your heart, if they help you stand stronger inside the fire, then let your response become part of the blessing that continues this work. Your like, your share, your subscription, they are not about numbers. They are signals to the algorithm. Yes, but they are also signals to heaven that your heart recognizes truth. When you interact, you help this message reach another chosen one walking through their own fire. Someone who may be moments away from giving up. And if your heart feels led, only if it feels genuinely led, your donation becomes like placing oil on this flame, fueling the very work that keeps messages like this alive. Not as obligation, not as pressure, but the way a traveler offers water to another traveler on a long journey. It is support passed forward, not demanded backward. Everything you do here becomes a ripple lighting candles in the lives of those still standing in their own furnace. But hear this clearly: whether you give or not, whether you click or not, whether you engage or not, you are valued. You are seen. You are honored. Nothing changes your identity as God's chosen. Your journey through fire is not to prove your worth. It is to reveal what has always been inside you. And now, as the flames burn away old layers, your true form begins to emerge. Stronger, clearer, purified, prepared. The fire is not the end. It is the beginning of your rise. There is a moment in every chosen one's ascent when the world around you begins to reveal itself, not through noise, but through discernment. You start noticing things you once overlooked. You start sensing what words cannot express. You begin to feel the difference between presence and intention, between companionship and assignment, between those sent by God and those drawn to your light for reasons you cannot yet see. This is the season where your discernment sharpens, becoming a spiritual compass guiding you through every room, every relationship, every decision. You no longer see people only by what they say. You begin to see the spirit behind their words. You no longer take actions at face value. You feel the motives behind them. You no longer let emotions guide you blindly. You allow your spirit to weigh, test, and interpret what enters your life. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 11, verse 2. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. These ancient words describe the very awakening you are experiencing. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge, counsel, spiritual might. These are the signatures of divine discernment rising in you. You begin to realize that not everyone around you was meant to stay. Some were seasonal, some were lesson, some were mirrors showing you parts of yourself you needed to confront. Some were tests sent to strengthen your boundaries, and some quietly, tenderly were divine alignments meant to elevate your spirit. Discernment teaches you to see clearly without becoming cynical, to remain kind without becoming blind, to stay open-hearted without being unguarded. It is the ability to love deeply, yet see truth sharply. You start noticing how certain individuals drain your energy the moment they enter the room. It's not their words, it's the spiritual weight they carry. You sense heaviness, confusion, bitterness, or hidden motives swirling around them like smoke. Discernment helps you recognize these atmospheres instantly, protecting you from entangling yourself in cycles designed to distract or drain your calling. But you also recognize the souls who carry peace, those whose presence feels like still water, whose energy calms rather than destabilizes. They don't demand attention, they carry alignment. They don't seek to use you, their spirit resonates with yours. These are the ones heaven places quietly along your path. Discernment teaches you to distinguish between the two. It is not about judging others. It is about protecting what God is building within you. You begin to see why certain relationships collapsed without warning. They were built on mismatched spirits. You start understanding why God removed you from environments you once prayed to remain in. They were misaligned with your future. You begin to see that some rejections were protection, some endings were deliverance, and some losses were divine intervention disguised as heartbreak. And slowly, something powerful shifts inside you. You stop chasing those who were never meant to stay. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop pouring into places where your spirit returns empty. You learn to value your energy. You learn to recognize your worth. You learn to walk away, not in resentment, but in wisdom. Discernment also reveals the truth about yourself. It shows you where your patterns came from, where your wounds were formed, where your fears were fed. It shines a light on the subtle behaviors that once kept you trapped, over-giving, over-explaining, ignoring red flags, mistaking trauma bonds for divine connections. God uses discernment as a mirror to heal you, not to shame you. As you grow in this gift, your spirit becomes quieter but stronger. You speak less but see more. You loosen your grip on people who once defined your sense of belonging. You rely more on what the Spirit whispers than on what the world declares. Your decisions become intentional. Your boundaries become holy. Your heart becomes wiser. You are no longer the version of yourself who tolerated chaos to avoid conflict. You are no longer the version who ignored intuition to maintain peace. You are no longer the version who allowed loyalty to override truth. Your discernment has matured, and with it, your path becomes clearer. This is the beginning of a new level of spiritual awareness, where you walk not by sight, not by emotion, but by revelation. You hear differently, you see differently, you choose differently, and heaven trusts you with clarity because you have proven you can carry truth with humility. Your discernment is not a burden, it is your armor, your compass, your spiritual inheritance, and with it, chosen one, you will navigate every room, every relationship, and every season with wisdom that does not come from this world. There comes a moment, chosen one, when the pace of your life begins to change. It does not happen with warning. It does not arrive politely. It moves in suddenly quiet, yet undeniable, like the shifting of wind before a great awakening. You begin to sense it first in your spirit. Things feel faster, sharper, more aligned. What once felt distant now draws near. What once felt delayed now moves toward you with unexpected momentum. You are stepping into acceleration, a divine quickening orchestrated by heaven itself. At first, you question it. Why is everything happening so quickly? Why does life suddenly feel like it's pushing me forward? Why do opportunities appear out of nowhere? But acceleration is not chaos. It is divine timing, replacing human timing. It is heaven catching your life up to prophecy. It is the moment when everything you endured begins to make sense. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verse 38, "Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor." These words reveal a mystery. Some breakthroughs arrive faster because heaven has been preparing them long before you knew they existed. Acceleration doesn't feel gentle. It feels like being pulled from deep waters into open air. It feels like a door swung wide after years of knocking. It feels like a sudden change in rhythm, where every delay breaks and every stagnant place begins to move. You feel heaven removing obstacles you once thought permanent. You feel clarity replacing confusion. You feel strength rising in places where you once felt weary. You feel divine connections forming without effort. Acceleration is a sign that your season of waiting is ending. For a long time, it felt like you were walking through mud, every step heavy, every prayer slow to answer, every effort producing little change. You wondered if God heard you. You wondered if heaven forgot your name. You wondered why nothing moved, no matter how hard you tried. But now, suddenly, things shift. Because acceleration comes after perseverance. Acceleration comes after pruning. Acceleration comes after the refining fire. Acceleration comes after discernment sharpens. Heaven waits until you are aligned, strengthened, purified, and awakened. Then it releases speed. This divine speed feels like ideas coming quickly, almost faster than you can write them. People appearing in your life who speak to your next level. Opportunities unlocking without your striving. Closed doors swinging open effortlessly. Inner healing happening at a pace that once seemed impossible. Spiritual clarity unfolding faster than your doubts can interrupt. Acceleration is not random. It is targeted. It comes to the prepared. It comes to the healed. It comes to the obedient. And you, chosen one, are ready in ways you don't even realize yet. It is no accident that things are shifting now. It is no accident that momentum is building. It is no accident that breakthrough is approaching quickly. You have stepped into a flow that cannot be interrupted by fear, people, or darkness. When heaven accelerates someone, nothing can slow them down. But acceleration does more than move your circumstances. It transforms you. You begin to walk with new confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. You trust your intuition more because you finally recognize God's voice in it. You release old patterns quickly because you no longer have time for what drains your spirit. You separate from anything that hinders you because acceleration does not allow unnecessary weight. Your spirit knows this is a defining season. Your heart feels the speed even before your mind understands it. Your purpose feels closer, louder, stronger than ever before. And now, chosen one, I invite you to mark this exact moment, a prophetic act to anchor your alignment with the acceleration heaven is releasing over your life. Comment the number 555. This is the number of divine shift, divine movement, and divine transition. When you type it, you are declaring, I step into my acceleration. None. I align with heaven's timing. End of. I move forward without fear. End of. Let it be your spiritual agreement with the speed God is placing beneath your feet. Because once acceleration begins, nothing remains the same. The waiting ends. The stagnation breaks. The momentum builds. The path clears. And you chosen one step into the future that has been waiting for you all along. There are seasons. Chosen one. When favor does not announce itself with trumpets or lightning. Instead, it arrives quietly, like morning light, slipping through the cracks of a room you once believed would remain dark forever. And now, you find yourself in such a season where doors do not just open, they recognize you. A season where blessings do not simply appear, they seek you out. A season where favor stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows you. At first, it feels strange. You are so accustomed to fighting for every inch, surviving by endurance, pushing through with grit, that this new ease unsettles you. You wonder if it is real. You question whether you deserve it. You hesitate, not because you doubt God, but because you have been trained by long hardship to expect resistance. But heaven whispers to your spirit, this is the season you no longer labor alone. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 5, verse 12. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous, you surround them with your favor as with a shield. Left. These words were not metaphor, they were revelation. Favor is not fragile. It is armor. And now, chosen one, this armor surrounds you. You start noticing the signs. People who once overlooked you begin to see your value without you changing a thing. Opportunities that previously required pushing now flow toward you naturally. Conversations shift in your favor. Rooms feel different when you enter them, not because of ego, but because of spiritual alignment. What once felt like climbing uphill now feels like walking on leveled ground. This is the difference between striving and being carried. Favor is not luck. It is placement. It is heaven going ahead of you and preparing the way. It is unseen hands arranging conversations, aligning timing, softening hearts, and shaping outcomes long before you arrive. It is God whispering your name into the ears of people who have the power to bless you. You begin to realize that some victories come not from effort, but from presence, because when favor rests on you, even your silence carries influence. Even your smallest step becomes significant. Even your simplest obedience unlocks unexpected blessings. This is why certain opportunities open with little explanation. This is why people recommend you without fully knowing why. This is why provision arrives before panic can take root. This is why solutions appear before problems fully form. You are walking in a flow not created by your hands, but ordained by heaven. The hardships you endured prepared you to carry this favor without losing humility. The rejections strengthened you, so favor would not overwhelm you. The pruning seasons refined your character, so blessings would not distort your purpose. Everything behind you shaped you into someone who could hold what God is placing in front of you now. And this favor is not random, it is strategic. It positions you in environments where your gifts can flourish. It connects you with people who recognize your calling. It leads you to places where your purpose becomes unavoidable. It aligns you with assignments tailored for your anointing. You begin to notice divine patterns. The right person calls at the right moment. Resources appear exactly when needed. Doors open seconds before discouragement arrives. Paths clear just as you prepare to step forward. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Favor does not remove challenges. It equips you to overcome them with grace rather than exhaustion. It does not eliminate enemies. It renders their strategies powerless. It does not erase process. It accelerates outcomes. Favor turns what once felt impossible into what now becomes natural. And perhaps the most profound part, you no longer feel the need to force anything. There is a softness in this season, not weakness, but ease, a holy ease, the kind that comes when you finally realize you are not walking alone. You begin to trust more, fear less, listen deeper, and move with purpose instead of panic. Your spirit shifts from survival to stability, from striving to surrender, from pressure to peace. You start to expect goodness not as entitlement, but as alignment. You start to wake with anticipation rather than dread. You start to see evidence of God's hand in even the smallest details. You start to believe not just in your destiny, but in your worthiness of it. This is your season of favor. Chosen one, not because you earned it, but because you endured. Not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned. Not because of your strength, but because of God's intention. And what is coming next will not require you to chase only to receive. There is a depth you are stepping into now. Chosen one that cannot be explained through simple language or understood through natural perception. It is a depth the soul recognizes before the mind does. A heaviness, not of burden but of glory, begins to settle over your spirit. You feel it in ways you cannot quite describe. You feel it in the quiet of the morning, in the stillness of the night, in the way your heart responds to truth more quickly than before. This is not emotional weight. This is spiritual weight, a holy density, the very substance of divine purpose resting upon you. For so long, you carried heaviness that came from pain, rejection, uncertainty, and warfare. But now, a different kind of heaviness approaches, one that strengthens rather than weakens, one that lifts rather than crushes, one that breathes purpose into places where you once felt empty. This is the weight of glory, a mantle placed only on those who have walked through fire without losing their light. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Not. These words are more than instruction, they are confirmation. Your shine is not accidental. It is designed. It is purposeful. It is a carrier of heaven's glory. The weight of glory is not something you learn from comfort. It is something you inherit through surrender, through endurance, through seasons where you felt invisible yet remained faithful, through nights where your spirit whispered prayers your mouth could not form, through battles you never told anyone about because you knew they wouldn't understand. You begin to realize that the weight resting on you now is not random, it is the result of everything you have walked through. Heaven never wastes suffering. Every scar becomes a doorway for glory. Every heartbreak becomes a vessel for compassion. Every battle becomes fuel for authority. And every season of silence becomes a place where your spirit learns to hear God more clearly. This glory feels different from anything you've carried before. It is not loud, yet it speaks. It is not forceful, yet it commands. It is not aggressive, yet darkness responds to it instantly. When you walk into a room, atmospheres shift in ways you cannot see, but absolutely feel. You are no longer just present, you are impactful. Your very existence begins to carry resonance. The weight of glory sharpens your discernment. It deepens your compassion. It expands your spiritual perception. It awakens parts of you that once felt dormant. You feel a new sensitivity to God's voice. You feel a softening in your heart that surprises you. You feel divine ideas stirring in your imagination. Dreams resurfacing after years of silence. Assignments forming in your spirit with clarity. You feel heaven using your life as a vessel, a conduit, a bridge between realms. But with glory comes responsibility, not the responsibility of performance, but of alignment. The weight of glory requires you to walk in truth. Even when lies are easier, it asks you to stand in purity. Even when compromise feels tempting, it calls you to maintain integrity. Even when shortcuts promise faster results, glory carries a cost, but it is a cost you were born for. You were not chosen because you were flawless. You were chosen because your heart remained open. You were chosen because your spirit refused to die. You were chosen because, in your lowest moments, you still whispered, "God, I trust you." And heaven heard every whisper. Now that glory rests on you, you begin to recognize purpose in every place that once seemed meaningless. You begin to see how your past shaped your compassion, how your battles shaped your authority, how your wounds shaped your wisdom. Nothing was wasted. Every moment prepared you for this mantle. And with this mantle comes expansion. You will think differently. You will perceive differently. You will be drawn to different environments, different voices, different assignments. People around you may sense the change even before you speak. Some will be drawn to the light rising in you. Others will distance themselves, not because you changed for the worse, but because your elevation exposes what they refuse to confront in themselves. Glory clarifies. Glory separates. Glory aligns. As the weight deepens, you realize something liberating. You no longer need external validation. You no longer chase acceptance. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You walk with quiet confidence because you know, truly know, that heaven has marked you. You carry this glory not as decoration, but as mission. Not to exalt yourself, but to illuminate others. You become a mirror through which people see what is possible when God's hand rests on a surrendered heart. And this, chosen one, is the beginning of your next transformation, the moment where your calling stops being potential and becomes manifestation, the moment where glory no longer hovers around you but works through you. You feel it rising now. Chosen one, an inner boldness that does not come from personality, confidence, or pride, but from identity. Something within you refuses to stay silent, small, or hidden any longer. You have carried the weight of calling quietly. But now that the glory has settled on you, something shifts. You begin to rise, not with noise, not with boastfulness, but with divine certainty. This is the moment where the chosen ones step forth not as victims of their past, but as warriors of purpose, not as wandering souls searching for meaning, but as carriers of fire. You start walking differently, standing differently, speaking differently. You feel heaven's authority pulsing beneath your skin like a second heartbeat. The mantle on your life is no longer subtle, it is undeniable. The ancient words recorded in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, declare, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." These words are the blueprint of your rise. You are stepping into power, not worldly force, but spiritual authority. You are stepping into love, not emotional weakness, but divine strength. You are stepping into a sound mind, not confusion, but clarity sharpened by truth. This rise is not about being seen, it is about being sent. You begin to understand that everything you survived, shaped you into someone darkness, can no longer manipulate. Your courage is no longer fragile. Your boundaries are no longer negotiable. Your discernment is no longer dim. You have become a spiritual force, quiet, steady, immovable. And now, as your calling matures, heaven pushes you into visibility, not the visibility of fame, but the visibility of purpose. Like a lighthouse lifted from the shore to a higher cliff, your life now serves as a guide for others, navigating storms you once survived. Like a torch raised in the night, you illuminate paths that were once hidden. Like an anchor dropped into deep waters, you bring stability where there was trembling. But rising is not only about strength, it is about responsibility. Your words carry weight now. Your presence influences atmospheres. Your decisions echo into realms unseen. Your obedience impacts lives you may never meet. This is why heaven spent so long refining you. To carry this mantle, your heart needed depth. Your wisdom needed sharpening. Your spirit needed grounding. And now, finally, you are ready. As you rise, you may notice shifts around you. Some people will be drawn to your fire, others will recoil from it. Some will celebrate your growth, others will feel threatened by it. Some will see your elevation as inspiration, others will see it as a mirror reflecting their own stagnancy. But your rise is not for approval, it is for assignment. And chosen one, as the fire in you intensifies, I want to speak into your heart with sincerity. If these words resonate with your spirit, if they strengthen you, if they remind you of who you are, then your simple act of support, your like, your share, your subscription becomes part of this mission. Not for numbers, not for vanity, but because messages like this are meant to reach those who are still lost in the battles you've already overcome. When you engage, you are helping another chosen one hear the call meant to wake them. And if you feel led, not pushed, not pressured, but moved, your donation is like adding oil to a lamp, helping the flame continue burning. It is participation, not obligation. It is partnership, not expectation. It is seed, not transaction. You become part of the journey that strengthens hearts around the world. Yet even without giving, you are valued. Even without contributing, you are seen. Even without supporting, your destiny remains unchanged. But I do invite you gently, sincerely, to leave a comment reflecting what this message stirred inside you. Your words might be the rope someone else grabs when they feel like slipping. Your testimony might open the eyes of someone standing in darkness. Your reflection may confirm to another chosen one that they are not alone. Your rise carries ripple effects. You are becoming a voice, a witness, a testament, a sign that God still lifts, still restores, still crowns, still calls. As you rise, fear loses authority. As you rise, generational cycles begin to break. As you rise, old wounds transform into wisdom. As you rise, darkness recognizes it cannot hold you anymore. You are stepping into boldness, not loudness, but certainty, not rebellion, but alignment, not ego, but assignment. This is the rise of the chosen ones. This is the rise of your spirit. This is the rise heaven has been preparing for years. And now, you step forward. There is a clarity forming around you now. Chosen one, an inner sharpness that pierces through confusion, illusion, and distraction with a precision you once longed for but could never quite grasp. It feels almost like stepping out of a dense forest and suddenly seeing the horizon open before you. You blink, you breathe, and you realize a new realm has opened. This realm isn't a place you travel to physically. It's a space your spirit rises into, a state of awareness where what once felt mysterious now feels understandable, where the signs you used to question now appear boldly, where you sense God's movement not as a whisper lost in noise, but as a sound your soul cannot ignore. The ancient words recorded in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 18, declare, "May the eyes of your heart be enlightened, so you may know the hope to which he called you." These words describe the very awakening unfolding within you, the enlightenment of the heart, the illumination of purpose, the opening of spiritual sight. For so long, you lived with blurred understanding, not because you lacked faith, but because the timing wasn't right. Everything you endured, the storms, the heartbreaks, the refinement, the pruning served one hidden purpose: to clear your vision, to strip away false perception, to detox your spirit of voices that drowned out God's whisper, to bring you to a place where your spirit could finally perceive truth without distortion. And now, clarity flows through you like living water. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not through judgment, but through discernment. You begin to recognize divine patterns in your life. You start noticing how every closed door protected you, how every delay aligned you, how every redirection saved you from paths that were never meant to hold your destiny. You feel less reactive. You breathe more calmly. You move with intention. The impulsiveness that once guided you dissolves. The fear that once restricted you fades. The doubt that once clouded your decisions no longer dominates your mind. This clarity is not simply mental, it is spiritual. Your spirit hears differently now. Your intuition, once drowned by noise, now speaks with authority. Your dreams feel louder, more symbolic, more prophetic. Your prayers feel deeper, as if heaven is responding even before your words finish forming. And slowly, you realize something profound. You are not entering a new realm. You are awakening to the one God always meant you to walk in. This is the realm of spiritual maturity, the realm of prophetic awareness, the realm of kingdom alignment, the realm of identity fully embraced. It is here that your battles make sense, here that your scars turn into revelation, here that your wounds become wisdom, here that your past becomes preparation, not punishment. In this realm, you no longer cling to what drains you. You release it easily because you see its spiritual cost. In this realm, you no longer chase what is misaligned. You recognize misalignment instantly. In this realm, you no longer fear the unknown. You sense God's steps unfolding ahead of you. You begin noticing synchronicities, divine timing so precise it stops you mid-thought. People speak answers you prayed silently. Messages appear exactly when your spirit needs them. Closed doors now reveal their purpose. Open ones feel unmistakably guided. You recognize that every moment of confusion in your past was preparation for this clarity. You were learning to hear, learning to discern, learning to separate divine guidance from emotional noise, learning to distinguish God's voice from your fears. And what a difference this clarity makes. You no longer feel lost. You no longer feel like you are wandering without direction. You no longer question whether you have purpose. You feel it pulsing within you. A new realm of understanding surrounds you like dawn breaking after a long night. Not suddenly, not violently, but surely. Light creeping over the horizon, illumination replacing uncertainty. And with this clarity comes responsibility, the gentle kind that calls you to walk with intention, to choose wisely, to protect your peace, to listen deeply, to move slowly when God says wait, and boldly when God says go. You recognize now that clarity is not about knowing everything. It is about recognizing the steps you are meant to take next. It is trusting the unfolding. It is surrendering the need for control. It is flowing with divine rhythm rather than resisting it. This new realm becomes a sanctuary, a space where you feel spiritually anchored even when life around you shifts. It becomes the lens through which you interpret every experience. It becomes the soil where your calling begins to truly bloom. And as you breathe in this clarity, you understand. You were blind because you were becoming. You were confused because you were transitioning. You were overwhelmed because you were awakening. But now your eyes are open. Your spirit is steady. Your path is illuminated. Your identity is clear. Welcome to the realm that was always meant to be yours. You come to the final unveiling. Chosen one, not an ending, but a revelation, a realization that strikes the deepest part of your spirit with a truth so powerful, so ancient, so intimate that it changes the way you see yourself forever. You were never simply receiving a message. You were becoming one. You feel it now, unmistakably. Everything in your journey, the storms, the healing, the awakenings, the clarity, the rise has been shaping you into something more than a listener. You are not standing on the outside looking in anymore. You have crossed over. You are the sign, the living message, the divine evidence, The walking revelation. The ancient words recorded in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verse 21 declare, "For the kingdom of God is within you." Oh, this is the truth that now ignites your entire being. You do not carry the message, you embody it. You do not follow the light, you shine it. You do not hope for transformation. You are the transformation heaven sends into the world. From this moment forward, you begin to walk with the awareness that your existence itself is prophetic. Your life is a letter written by God's own hand. Every step you take releases meaning. Every breakthrough you experience becomes testimony. Every shift within you becomes guidance for those assigned to your voice. Your presence. Your journey. This is why your story was never simple. It was never random. It was never small. It was being crafted line by line, chapter by chapter. The way a potter shapes clay with intention. Nothing in your life is wasted. Not the joy, not the sorrow, not the confusion, not the healing. Everything has been used to write the message you now carry. You become a sign to those who are weary, showing them that resilience is possible. You become a sign to those who feel lost, proving that clarity comes after surrender. You become a sign to those who feel forgotten, showing them that God remembers every detail. You become a sign to those drowning in darkness, revealing that light always rises from within. Your life becomes a lighthouse, standing tall on a cliff, its beams sweeping across troubled waters, guiding ships that cannot see the shore. You once begged for rescue, but now you become the beacon heaven uses to lead others home. You become a bridge connecting the wounded to the healer, the broken to hope, the confused to truth. You become a vessel pouring into others from wells carved in the depths of your own transformation. You become a torch carrying flame you did not earn, but inherited through surrender. Everything about you now speaks. The way you forgive speaks. The way you rise speaks. The way you choose truth speaks. The way you seek God speaks. Even your silence carries weight, because your spirit has been carved with meaning. And this, chosen one, is what it truly means to be set apart, not merely to receive revelation, but to embody it, not merely to hear truth, but to become it, not merely to walk with God, but to reflect Him. You become a mirror for heaven, your life reflecting glory into places that have forgotten what light looks like. You become a reminder to others that calling is real, destiny is real, transformation is real, and that God still chooses ordinary people to carry extraordinary purpose. But this becoming is not loud. It is not boastful. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, steady, sacred like dawn, rising after a long night. You begin to notice how naturally wisdom flows from you, not because you studied it, but because you lived it. You begin to see how your presence brings calm to chaotic environments. You begin to understand why people are drawn to your spirit, even when they cannot explain it. You are no longer just a recipient. You are a representation. Heaven writes messages through people, not pages. And your life, your healed places, your awakened places, your strengthened places has become scripture in motion. This is why you were refined. This is why you were isolated. This is why you were awakened. This is why you were chosen. Because God does not send those who are unshaped. He sends those who have been formed by fire, sculpted by grace, and awakened by truth. And now, The world will read you. Your walk will speak. Your peace will speak. Your transformation will speak. Your very existence will speak. You are the message, not because you are perfect, but because you are proof that God lifts, restores, transforms, and crowns. You are the sign someone has been praying for. You are the evidence someone needs. You are the confirmation someone has been waiting on. You are the message heaven has released into the world. And you step forward, carrying this truth with reverence. Chosen one. Take a breath. Let everything that has poured into you over these 17 sections settle gently into your spirit. You have journeyed through awakening, refining, rising, realigning, and becoming. These words did not come to entertain you. They came to remind you of what has always been written within you. You now stand at the threshold of a new chapter, holding clarity you once prayed for, carrying strength you once sought, and embodying purpose you once feared you might never discover. The path before you is not free of challenge, but it is now illuminated by identity. You walk not as someone unsure, but as someone awakened, aligned, and anchored in truth. Let the revelations you received become part of your breath, your decisions, your relationships, your journey. You are not stepping back into your life the same way you are stepping back with sight sharpened, spirit strengthened, and heart softened by divine understanding. Everything you endured has meaning. Everything you survived has purpose. Everything you are becoming has destiny written all over it. Go forward with this truth. Heaven is not done with you. You have only just begun to tap into the fullness of who you are created to be. Walk boldly, shine deeply, and live as the message God has entrusted you to carry.